Into the Breach is as close as you can get to my perfect game. The 2018 turn-based tactics game of mechs versus aliens so expertly distills and refines the best parts of the genre that I lost hours and days to it when it first came out on PC. And then again when it came out on Switch. And now the Advanced Edition has hit mobiles via Netflix, and it's happening again. The beauty of Into the Breach is in its simplicity. The Earth has been overrun by an unstoppable alien force, and a time-traveling mech pilot is just doomed to repeat its final days unless they can find a way to stop it. Combat plays out on a simple 8x8 grid and will be immediately familiar if you've ever picked up something like Advance Wars. You'll maneuver different mechs into advantageous positions to protect the few remaining civilian cities by either shooting aliens with big old guns, or more likely, getting in their way and taking the hit yourself. It's hard to understate how intense rounds of Into the Breach can get. You will inevitably be faced with deciding what you want to lose. A building and thus bringing you closer to game over, or a pilot that you've been sinking XP into for turn after turn just so you can unlock that perk that gives them a few extra moves on the board. It really is the video game equivalent of the trolley problem. Will you sacrifice one for many? There's such attention to team composition and synergy in the pre-made squads that trying each really does feel like a new game. Situations change depending on your squad choice too. I mean, I was failing miserably with the Rift Walkers, so I moved across to the Rusting Hulks for their attack cancelling smoke, only to be met with brand new enemies that I hadn't seen in my first few hours. And unlike something like XCOM, attacks don't rely on dice rolls or hit percentages. If an enemy is in range of whatever your mech is packing, you're gonna hit it. And those weapons are inspired by classic mecha sci-fi. There's colossal punches that damage and push enemies into the square next to them, lasers that penetrate everything in a straight line, and electric whips that chain through adjacent enemies and buildings to cause maximum havoc. The further you progress through Into the Breach's 4 islands though, the harder enemy encounters become. Each island offers different environmental effects and, assuming you can get that far, a unique boss battle at the end. Frozen lakes can be destroyed to drop enemies into water, while deserts can be terraformed into lush grassland, killing anything that happens to be in the way. If you can weather the sometimes literal storm and take down the territory's boss, you can spend the paltry resources you've collected on new weapons and upgrades to hopefully give you a fighting chance in the next. Weapons and abilities are all managed by your mech's power, so there's a risk-reward system even in how you upgrade your attacks. Will you share power cores across the team to increase their damage, or will you pour everything into one mech until it's unstoppable? And I haven't even mentioned the absolutely staggering amount of new stuff added in the Advanced Edition. There's new enemy types, mechs, weapons, pilots, and everything has been rebalanced to make sure you can try out the new stuff as quickly as possible, but only if you want to. The new content is all optional from the main menu when starting a new game. If you want Classic Into the Breach, you can just not toggle it on. It's more customization that keeps runs fresh even on your 200th timeline. My only gripe, and it's a very small and very personal gripe, is that squads are still unlocked with coins that are earned for completing squad-specific objectives. I'm just not good enough to unlock coins quickly, so I wasn't able to give all the new mechs a go. Honestly, I think in my nearly 100 hours, I've beaten the final battle less than 10 times. And while it's exclusive to Netflix subscribers, the absolutely stellar mobile version feels like the platform to play Into the Breach. There are new mobile changes that took me a little bit to get used to, stuff like turns now having title screens that remind you of objectives, and mechs being loaded in a preset arrangement that you can customize, but it's not super clear. But these are all just me being super nitpicky because I've played so much. But sitting on the train punching those giant scorpions off cliffs has made my commute much more enjoyable. It's just such a good game. The way you're constantly managing the tiniest well of resources while trying to protect the maximum amount of civilians, so you have a fighting chance at taking down the final boss, it's unlike anything else I've ever played. There's a real feeling of accomplishment the first time you beat an island's boss, and that's quickly dashed when the difficulty just noticeably spikes up, but it's never unfair. You can usually avoid taking building damage every turn and still survive, but it will be by the skin of your teeth. There's a puzzle to be solved every turn, and that's what video games are to me. Yes, I love their dumb stories and their ray-traced reflections and their serotonin-releasing achievements, but every game I've ever really truly loved has been about solving big problems with a small set of tools. Your Breath of the Wilds, your Metal Gear Solids, your Into the Breaches. Play.